Welcome to the Market Like a Man podcast. I'm Wes Schaeffer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is where ordinary entrepreneurs come for inspiration and education to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until the job gets done. Look, when I made the leap from corporate America to running my own business, I had a wife, 5 kids, a mortgage, and they all wanted to eat and sleep in warm beds. I didn't have the luxury of hitting rock bottom while I found myself on my buddy's couch or in somebody's basement or going back home, so mommy could dry my eyes, pat my back, and tell me everything is going to be okay while I find myself. Oh no. I had to put food on the table, a lot of food on the table, every single day, every week, every month. This is the no hype, cut to the chase material, ideas, and training I wish I had when I started down my entrepreneurial journey. This is one of the premier sales, marketing, and entrepreneurial programs available, and it's free. Make sure to stay up to date on everything I'm working on, along with additional content I don't have time to share on the podcast, by signing up for the Weekly Whisper at weeklywhisper.com. If you're curious about where to start when it comes to taking control of your sales and marketing is just selling in print, you can get my sales agenda to use in your everyday sales life at thesalesagenda.com. Finally, get the on-demand help you need to grow your sales at 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter the promo code podcast to save a few bucks on your order. If you have any questions on ways I might be able to help you here with my team at The Sales Whisperer, feel free to email me, Wes at thesaleswhisperer.com. That is my actual email address, and I read everything that is not stupid, spammy, or ridiculous. Now on to the show. Perception is reality, and perceptions are based on assumptions, and assumptions are based on what we know or what we think we know or what we know and refuse to see the other side. It's based on the information we have. It's based on maybe the information we think we have access to, and a lot of times people have access to too much information and they shut down. As Dan Irely, or Airly, was it A-R-I-E-L-Y, Dan Airly, predictably irrational. He proved that point. You give people too many choices, they make irrational decisions. So I bring that up because we're in the middle of this whole thing going on with Freddie Gray in Baltimore. This is obviously on the heels of the incidents in South Carolina and New York City, obviously Michael Brown and Ferguson. And I'm having an online discussion with several of my black classmates from the Air Force Academy. So many of them, I think most of them chiming in, if not all of them, have advanced degrees even, right? So here we are, well-educated, motivated, high achievers, right? The academy is a grueling process to apply and get an appointment. It's grueling to graduate from there. So none of us are poor, right? On the socioeconomic realm or ladder, we are all pretty well off. None of us are living in slums. And we have a very similar upbringing, at least from 1988 onward, right? It's where we went to college together. From that point on, our trajectories were quite similar, even though we may have grown up, in different parts of the country, rich or poor. But I bring that up because our perceptions of these incidents and these riots are vastly different, okay? Even though we come, at least at the midway point of our lives, we come from the same spot. But our very initial upbringing, it's what's in our DNA. And that is what is very hard, if not impossible, to change. And that is how we view the world, right? How we were raised. Were we raised with money or not? Single-parent households, was that your mom or your dad? Were your parents married? Was everything hunky-dory? Are you college educated, or do you have advanced degrees? Are you, outgoing? Are you an introvert? So, that's why I say perception is reality. So when you are trying to make a sale, when you're coming up with a marketing campaign, you always say marketing is just selling in print. Are you able to perceive the reality of your prospect? Great salespeople have great empathy. They can walk a mile in the shoes of the prospect, at least virtually. And that's one of the arguments my classmates are saying, well, you're not black, you don't understand. It's like, Okay, maybe not 100%, but that's like telling a male gynecologist that, he doesn't know anything about childbirth. Okay, sure. He has not experienced that pain, but that's his job, right? He has lived that as an OBGYN. He understands it and can at least relate. Okay, it's another analogy I put. I don't need to shoot my foot off to be able to empathize with a wounded veteran. Okay, I can see what they're going through. Granted, it's not 100%, but great salespeople are great communicators. They're great connectors. They have charisma. They have empathy. They can relate. Okay, I think it's because great salespeople are great people. We like people. We want to help people. I always say selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process, and a sale may be the solution. But you have to do everything you can to look at your offering through the eyes of your prospects. You can never assume their knowledge or their lack of knowledge about what you offer. You can never assume about their ability or their motivation to pay or not be able to pay. You cannot assume that even once they buy it, that they're going to dive right in and use it to its fullest capabilities, the way that you designed it. Okay, so you need to understand how everyone is viewing you and your offering, and then make the pitch from there, right? You come up with the taglines and the headlines. You come up with your unique selling proposition. You come up with your frequently asked questions and your should ask questions based on the perception of your ideal prospect. That's why creating personas is so important. If you're not familiar with personas, it's coming up with a demographic and actually giving a name. I'm working with the client. He deals with high performers, and what he has found out is that the demographics are vastly different from who he thought was going to be buying his product. So now the persona, right? You give this person a name. His persona is a 30 to 45-year-old male, making at least somewhere between $60,000 to maybe $90,000 a year. So they're decently well off. They have money to spend on personal development. They are somewhat athletic, but they're not gung-ho. But they're looking to do better in their bowling league, in their softball league, in their mountain biking club or what have you. So they want to do better, but they're not over the top elite athletes. So we have to give that person a name, right? Call him Joe, call him Wes, call him Matt, whatever. But you create that persona. And the more detailed and specific you can be, like literally, what kind of car does he drive? What kind of shoes does he wear? Is he married? How many kids does he have? Does he live in the city? Does he live in the suburbs? Does he own? Does he rent? Does he have a dog? Okay? And that's how you build that empathy, and that's how you build that perception, so you see exactly as best you can through the eyes of that 30 to 45-year-old Joe making $75,000 a year, because then it's like you're the little birdie on their shoulder looking at the virtual shelf or even the actual shelf on the retail store as you fight for attention, right, from all the crowded marketplace. And what does your marketing say? What color is the box? What font is the title and the name of the product or the offering? What is it that'll make it stand out so that 40-year-old Joe making $75,000 grabs your product over everything else, right? Because your competition is everybody else out there, as well as doing nothing. Okay, and people forget that the prospect, the client, an option is to not do anything, not to fix their situation, not to address it right now, either not right now or maybe not ever. So perception is reality. And people only change their mind once they have new information, once they see things differently. So you have to change their perception, and the best marketers and the best salespeople make it seem in the mind of the prospect that they came to their own conclusion. Now, in reality, that is what's happening, right? You cannot make up their mind for them, but you have to present the facts. You have to lay it out so they feel like they're the ones that uncovered this, that they're the ones that connected the dots, right? And you were just the provider of the dots. And they're the ones that are drawing the line, and the line turns into an arrow that points to you and your solution and your offering. So that's why I say perception is reality, and assumptions make up our perception, and our assumptions are made from the facts that we have or the facts that we think that we know, which goes back to perception, right? It's full circle. That's what we're up against in sales and marketing, in communication, right? In interpersonal relationships with spouses, with bosses, with children, the kids you're raising, everybody. So do you have it in you to do what it takes to make sure that you see things right, that you're perceiving things the way they are, and that you're making that a reality for your prospects, that you're making it easy for them to choose you? And that is hard to do. The old adage comes from, it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. That's why I have a team that I've contracted with to tear my website apart, to tear everything apart, find the gaps, because I'm literally, before I recorded this podcast, I was working on my site. I was looking at the flow. I came up with 2 new products around sales training for groups. One is a virtual sales rally, and the other is an on-site sales training program. While I've always, offered that or would talk with prospects about that if they needed it, I was not leading with it. Now I'm leading with it because I just see the need. Okay, so now I'm being more overt with it. But now we have to look at my website and say, how does the flow work? How can people perceive me as being valuable? How can they perceive these offerings as being of service to them and worth the price? And then how can we make it easy for people to learn more and to engage and retain me, right, with those products? Because I try to stay lean and mean. All companies need to stay lean and mean to stay in business, so you can grow, so you can increase your margins. That's why you're in business. Okay, so what can I do to perceive myself, my website, in the eyes of my prospects coming in? What are my personas of people visiting, right? And there's a difference between an entrepreneurial salesperson that maybe owns their own business and try to make things happen versus a small business owner, maybe 5 or 10, 15 employees. Maybe they have 2 or 3 salespeople. That's a little bit different than an SMB, right? Or maybe even a small enterprise type client that maybe has a bigger budget, all the way up to the large enterprise. And I know that my offering, the way that I am pricing it and structuring it, is for the small business up to the maybe the larger small business, right? I'm not pricing it and aiming that towards the large enterprise. Not right now. So the way that I price it and structured it, I know how a big company will perceive that, and they'll go away. Or, and this has happened before, they might say, hey, we realize we're too big for one big training, but we have 10 regional offices, 20 regional offices. Can we have you visit all of our offices over? You just heard the risk of working from home. My 13-month-old was carried in by my 15-year-old to get something off the printer. But anyway, the guy from a larger enterprise, may say, hey, we have 10 regions. We have 20 or 30 salespeople in each region. Could we schedule you to train them in person over the next quarter, or even the next half a year? Okay, but I've mentioned this before. You got to choose who to lose in all of your marketing. Okay, but when you choose who you want, you've got to really be clear on what it is they see, what do they perceive. Okay, so just bringing it back full circle. Perception is reality. Get over it. Okay, far too often we are too close to our own stuff. We know too much. Knowledge may be power, but ignorance is bliss, right? And there's a such thing as, beginner's luck. And the reason there's beginner's luck is because the beginner is just happy to have an opportunity. They're enthusiastic, okay, but they don't know too much. They don't know the solution. They know they work for a company that has the solution. That's why they went to work for them. But they don't sit there and try to solve the problem. They don't truly understand the pros and the cons, so they just sit and they ask questions. And then when they get a live one, right, they get a hot one, then they call the boss, all happy, I got a live one. And if you can answer all the questions about their needs and their wants and their goals and their desires and their ability to pay, then you got to sell. And selling really is all about perception, right? You have to be interested in your prospects. Then, when you know all about them, then you can be interesting in your marketing, and the sales will come quite easy. I like to say there's two kinds of sales, the easy ones and those you don't get. Nobody likes the hard sell, and that's not what I teach here. But you already knew that, which is why you're listening to the show. Show feedback and guest suggestions are always welcome. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover and any cool guys or gals you'd like me to interview. You can hit me up at wes@thesaleswhisperer.com. And if you want some affordable, live, interactive help from me and my team twice a month, check out marketingautomationnetwork.com. Even if you don't have an email or a CRM tool running yet, there is no other place on earth where you can get direct access to my team and me to answer your questions and record the answers and give you access to those sessions. You'll get access to the entire archive of sessions going back several years. So head on over to marketingautomationnetwork.com and sign up now. Remember to subscribe to the show, write me a review in iTunes, and I will love you long time. And please tell your friends, all right? The best compliment you can give is to share your feedback with a review and telling your friends about the show. Thanks for listening, and remember to sell different.